Rian lived a quiet life on the edge of the Dust Plains, far from the busy cities of the frontier world. His home was simple, an old metal farmhouse connected to a workshop full of tools, wires, and machines he repaired for travelers. Every evening, he worked late, and every night, he expected nothing but silence. His life did not change much. It was calm, ordinary, and almost too simple. But one stormy night, everything changed. The wind howled around the farmhouse, blowing dust in fast circles. The air felt heavy, as if the sky itself was holding a secret. Rian stood inside his workshop, cleaning a broken power coil. He planned to go to bed early, but something outside caught his attention. He heard a faint tapping sound, soft and unsure, like someone knocking but afraid to be heard. At first, he thought it was just the storm pushing something against the door. But then it came again, 3 light taps. Rian frowned and wiped his hands on a cloth. He walked to the door and slowly opened it, letting the cold wind rush past him. 2 figures stood outside, their small shapes trembling. They were young, no older than teenagers, and clearly not human. Their skin had a soft shine, almost like scales. Small wings pressed tightly against their backs. Their hair glimmered faintly, catching the light of the workshop. Dragon girls. Not full dragons, but humanoid dragonkin. One of the girls stepped forward. Her voice was soft and tired. "Please, can we stay here? Just for one night?" Rian blinked in surprise. He had never seen dragonkin this close. They usually stayed in their own territories or traveled under official escort. Having 2 standing at his door, alone and afraid, made no sense. He asked, "What are you doing out here in a storm? And why alone?" The second girl looked down at her feet. We had nowhere else to go," she whispered. "We only need a place to rest. We won't cause trouble." Rian looked at their faces. He saw fear, exhaustion, and something deeper, like they had been running for days. He knew taking them in could be dangerous. The Empire tracked dragonkin carefully. If these 2 were missing, someone would come looking, but he also knew he could not leave them outside. "Come in," he said finally. The girls looked up, surprised. They stepped inside quickly, shivering slightly as the warm air touched their skin. Rian closed the door and locked it. The storm outside grew louder, as if angry he had taken them in. He brought them 2 old blankets and pointed toward a clear corner near the heater. "Sit there for now. You look frozen." They nodded and wrapped themselves tightly in the blankets. Their wings folded carefully behind them. Rian warmed water and handed them cups. They drank slowly, as if every sip helped them breathe again. After a moment, he asked, "What are your names?" The first girl answered, "I'm Leary." The second girl gave a small nod, "And I'm Sarah." Rian sat on a stool nearby, but kept a respectful distance. "Well, Leary and Sarah, you're safe here. But you should tell me what happened. If someone is after you, I need to know." The sisters looked at each other, unsure. Leary finally spoke. "We can't say everything. Not yet, but we promise we're not criminals. We didn't hurt anyone. We just escaped the place." Sarah held a small metal cube in her hands, hiding it partly under the blanket. Rian noticed, but did not push them to explain. He sensed it was important, but he also saw how scared they were. For now, forcing answers would only make things worse. "All right," Rian said quietly. "You don't have to tell me everything tonight." Both girls looked relieved. Rian stood up and returned to his workbench, pretending to fix something so the girls would feel less watched. But he kept glancing at them. They were thin, tired, and their wings had small tears, signs they had traveled far and fast. After some time, Sarah began to fall asleep, her head resting against Leary's shoulder. Leary watched her sister with gentle eyes. She whispered, "Thank you, really. You're the first human who didn't chase us away." Rian looked at her. "You needed help. That's enough reason." Leary smiled weakly. It was a small smile, but it carried days of fear finally easing. The storm outside slowly faded. The wind grew softer. Inside the workshop, only the warm hum of the heater filled the silence. Rian watched the 2 girls curl up under their blankets. Their breathing became steady, calm. For the first time in a long while, Rian felt something unusual, a sense that his quiet life was ending. He did not know who these girls were running from. He did not know why they chose his workshop, but he felt certain their arrival was not an accident. As he turned off the last lamp and prepared to rest, he looked at them one more time. They slept like children who had finally found a safe corner of the world. Rian whispered to himself, "Whatever happens tomorrow, I hope I made the right choice." He did not know that far above, high in orbit, an Imperial scanner had just detected the signal coming from the tiny metal cube Sarah carried. And by morning, the Empire would know exactly where the dragon girls were. But for now, in the quiet of the night, they were safe. And that was enough. The morning sun rose slowly over the dust plains, turning the sky a soft orange. Rian stepped outside his farmhouse and stretched his arms after a long night. He knew 2 dragon girls were still sleeping inside, curled up on the blankets he had given them. He hoped they would feel a little safer when they woke. Rian walked toward the small pump to get water, but something felt strange. The wind was quiet, too quiet for a place that usually had dust storms every morning. He felt a small tension in the air, like the world was holding its breath. Inside the workshop, Lyri woke first. She blinked at the soft light coming through the window. For a moment, she forgot where she was and reached out for her sister. When she felt Sarah sleeping beside her, she relaxed. The warm heater, the quiet room, and the smell of metal and oil made her feel safe in a way she had not felt in weeks. Sarah soon woke as well. She clutched the small metal cube she carried, making sure it was still there. Her eyes softened when she saw Rian's coat hanging on a hook nearby. The human had trusted them, even without knowing their story. Rian returned inside with water. "Morning," he said gently. Lyri stood and bowed her head. "Thank you, truly. Nobody else would have helped us." Rian shrugged. "You were tired and needed shelter. That's all." But he could see something heavy behind their eyes. Something important, something dangerous. Before he could ask anything, a beep sounded from Sarah's small cube. She froze. The cube lit up with a soft blue glow, like a silent alarm only she understood. Rian stared. "What is that?" Sarah hesitated, then whispered, It's a beacon. I didn't mean to activate it last night, but something must have triggered it." Lyri's face paled. "Sarah, does that mean—" Sarah nodded, fear rising in her voice. "They know where we are." Rian frowned. "Who knows?" Lyri answered quietly. "The Empire." Those words hung heavy in the air. Far above the world, in the cold dark of space, a large Imperial cruiser hovered. Its sensors had picked up the faint signal from Sarah's beacon. The ship's officers gathered around a glowing map. "It's coming from a human farm village," an officer said. "Then the girls must be hiding there," another replied. Orders were sent. Drones were deployed. Scouts were sent down toward the dust plains. Rumors spread quickly. Traders passing to nearby towns saw Imperial ships landing and immediately started whispering. By mid-morning, everyone in the region knew a hunt had begun. Back at Rian's farm, the tension grew heavier. Rian set down his tools. "If the Empire is coming, we can't stay here. They'll search every house." Sarah shook her head. "We didn't mean to bring trouble to your home." Rian sighed. "I don't blame you, but I need to know why they're after you." Lyri looked down at her hands. Her wings drooped slightly. "We're not normal dragon girls. We escaped from an Imperial research base." Rian felt a jolt of shock. "Research base? Why were you taken there?" Sarah held the cube tightly. "Because of this. It holds data the Empire doesn't want anyone to see." Rian stepped closer. "What kind of data?" "Proof of what they're doing to our kind," Lyri whispered. "Proof of the experiments. Proof of the missing young ones. Proof of everything." Rian felt his stomach twist. This was more serious than he imagined. "So you're running," he said, "because this cube could expose the Empire?" Both sisters nodded. Just then, a loud sound echoed from outside, like a distant engine. Rian rushed to the window. Far on the horizon, he saw something floating in the sky. Small, metallic, glowing, Imperial scouting drones. "They found the signal," Rian said quickly. They'll come here next. Sarah stepped forward. Rian, thank you for helping us. But we can't let you get caught in this. We'll leave. We'll run into the plains. Rian shook his head. You won't get far out there. Those drones fly faster than anything on the ground. Leary looked hopeless. Then what do we do? Rian took a deep breath and made a decision he knew would change everything. You stay inside, he said firmly. I'll handle the drones. Sarah grabbed his sleeve. You can't stand against them alone. Rian smiled a little. I don't plan to fight, but I do know how to confuse their sensors. I fix machines for a living. I know their weaknesses. The sisters watched him step outside with old metal sheets, wires, and a small tool pack. He moved fast, building a quick device in the open yard. He wired the pieces together, creating a fake signal source. When he activated it, it sent a stronger beacon pulse than the cube. The drone shifted direction instantly, moving toward the false signal instead of the farmhouse. Inside, the girls watched from the window. He's helping us, Sarah whispered. Leary's eyes softened. He's risking his life for us. Rian kept working, strengthening the decoy. The drone circled the wrong spot, scanning. One of them even fired a small beam at the metal pile. Thinking it found its target, Rian stayed hidden behind a water tank, heart pounding. Inside, Leary and Sarah stayed silent, terrified. After a tense few minutes, the drones moved on, fooled by the decoy. They headed toward the cliffs to follow the false path. Rian waited until they were far away. Then he returned inside, brushing dust off his clothes. It worked, he told the girls. For now. Sarah's eyes filled with relief. You saved us again. Rian shook his head. No, I only bought us time. Leary stepped toward him. Why are you helping us? You don't even know us. Rian looked at them, his voice steady. Because someone has to stand with people who are running from something wrong. Outside, the sky grew darker again. Not from a storm, but from the shadow of more Imperial ships headed their way. And rumors began spreading across the frontier. 2 dragon girls were on the run. A human had sheltered them, and the Empire was moving. The sky over the dust plains stayed gray throughout the morning, heavy with the growing presence of Imperial ships far above the clouds. Rian could feel the weight of them, even if he could not see them. The 2 dragon girls stayed close to the workshop doorway, watching him quietly as he repaired old tools and tried to think of a plan. Inside his mind, there was no peace. He kept looking at Sarah's small metal cube, the beacon that called the Empire. He knew it held something important, something dangerous, something that had shaken the Empire enough to send drones after children. Leary sat at the corner of the room, her wings folded tightly, her eyes full of worry. Sarah held the cube in her lap, turning it gently, as if afraid she might break it. Rian finally stopped working and walked over to them. Can you show me? He asked softly. Sarah looked unsure. Show you what? What's inside that cube, Rian said. You told me it has proof of something. If I don't know what you're carrying, I won't know how to help you. Leary exchanged a glance with her sister. It's not easy to open, she warned. Only certain dragon clans can unlock the encryption. Rian sat down across from them. I've worked with machines for years. Maybe I can help. Sarah hesitated. Then she held out the cube. The moment Rian touched it, he felt a vibration, soft like a heartbeat. He looked at Sarah in surprise. This thing is alive? It's not alive, she said, but it's connected to our bioenergy. It responds to our flame cores. Rian blinked. Flame cores. Leary nodded. Every dragon is born with one. It is not a real fire. It is a small energy core inside us. It grows with us. It helps us fly, breathe light, and sense other dragons' emotions. Rian tried to imagine having a small, glowing energy inside a body. It sounded strange, but beautiful. So how did this cube get linked to your cores? Sarah looked down at it with sadness. It belonged to our mother. She created it. Rian felt his chest tighten. Your mother? Leary spoke softly. She was a scientist, one of the smartest in our clan. She designed this cube to keep records of everything the Empire tried to hide. Sarah added, she told us to run with it. She said the truth must survive, even if she didn't. Rian went silent for a moment. He understood their fear more clearly now. "Let me try to open it," he said gently. Sarah nodded. Rian took a small device from his workbench, a scanner he used for repairing old comm units. He placed it against the cube. Light flickered. The cube pulsed once, like a soft glow of warning. "It's encrypted on multiple layers," Rian murmured. "And encryption responds to your energy, not mine." Leary stepped forward. "Maybe we can help." Sarah held her hands over the cube. Her palms glowed faintly with blue dragon energy. The cube responded with a stronger light, almost like it was waking up. Rian saw the patterns on its surface shift. "It's working," he said. But then the scanner beeped sharply. A red warning flashed. Rian frowned and checked the display. "This cube doesn't just store information," he said slowly. "It's broadcasting something, too." Sarah froze. "Broadcasting? What do you mean?" "Like a heartbeat signal," Rian explained. "Very faint. Maybe it's how it connects to dragon energy. But the Empire has the right sensors." Leary whispered, "They could track it." Sarah clutched the cube to her chest. "I didn't know. I didn't want to make trouble." Rian reached out and gently touched her shoulder. "Hey, you didn't do anything wrong." The lights on the cube flickered again. Rian could tell something inside was trying to unlock itself. "Maybe the cube wants to show us something," he said. "Try again. Both of you." The sisters sat side by side. They placed their hands on the cube. A soft hum filled the air, and a thin beam of blue light rose from the cube into the air. It created a small floating image, a hologram. Rian stared in shock. It showed a map of the Empire. Hundreds of glowing dots blinked across it. Leary whispered, "These are the missing dragons." Sarah nodded. "Every young one taken from villages. Every adult captured for research. Every clan quietly erased." The cube pulsed again, and another image appeared. Dark metal rooms, machines, cages, dragons too weak to lift their heads. Rian felt anger rise inside him. "This is what they're hiding," Sarah said. "And this is why they want us. Only Mother's cube has this truth." Before they could study more, a loud crack echoed outside. The ground shook slightly. Rian rushed to the window. On a far ridge, a large shadow moved. Something metallic, something heavy. An Imperial land cruiser. "They found us," he whispered. Sarah's grip on the cube tightened. "We didn't mean to bring you danger." Rian stepped away from the window and looked at the girls. "You didn't bring danger," he said. "The Empire brought danger to everyone they think is weaker than them. You're just the ones who showed me the truth." Leary looked scared. "What do we do now?" Rian straightened his shoulders. "We hide the cube, we keep you safe, and we make sure the Empire doesn't get what they came for." The rumble outside grew louder. Dust shook from the roof beams. Rian grabbed the tool bag and motioned the girls. "Come with me. We're not staying here." Sarah hesitated. "But the cube—" "Bring it," Rian said, "because now I know what's inside. And if this evidence is even half real, then your mother entrusted something big to you." They stepped outside together. The wind carried the sound of engines. The ground trembled. Imperial soldiers would be here soon. The truth inside the cube was no longer just a dragon's secret. It had become Rian's purpose. And the Empire had no idea a simple human mechanic now stood between them and the truth they feared. The morning was quiet when the first shadow crossed over the farm. Birds stopped singing. The wind slowed, and then a deep metallic hum filled the air, a sound no one on the farm had ever heard before. It was the sound of Empire ships. The farmer stepped outside with his twins. The infertile dragon, Arya, stood behind them, her silver scales trembling. She knew that sound. She had heard it on the day she was taken away from her own clan. The Empire was here. 3 dark ships floated down from the clouds. They were shaped like long black arrows, sharp and silent. Dust rose as they landed near the old barn. The twins grabbed their father's hands, their eyes wide with fear. The farmer whispered, "Stay behind me, all of you." The doors of the first ship opened. Out stepped tall soldiers in silver armor, their masks smooth and empty. Their boots hit the ground with cold. steady rhythm. Each carried an energy spear that glowed faint blue. Arya stepped back. She remembered those weapons. They were used to test dragons, to judge their worth. To the Empire, dragons were not living beings. They were tools, machines with blood. One of the soldiers raised a speaker device. A huge voice echoed across the field. By order of the Empire, return the defective dragon that was sold from Sector 19. Arya's heart sank. Defective, the word she had heard her entire life. The word that had followed her like a shadow. But she was not alone anymore. She had a home now, a family, even if they were human. The twins looked up at her. "We won't let them take you," the little girl whispered. The farmer stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "She's not a tool," he said. "She lives here now." The soldiers did not move. They did not argue. They only raised their spears. "Resistance will result in elimination," they announced. The farmer swallowed. He was brave, but these were Empire soldiers. Humans did not stand a chance against them. He quietly whispered, "Arya, run." But Arya didn't move. She looked at the twins. She looked at the man who had given her shelter. They had taken her, and when the world had thrown her away, she could not run. Not now. More ships landed. The entire sky seemed filled with them. Soon, a huge metal platform descended, and on it stood a tall woman with pale skin and eyes like frozen glass. She wore long black armor with the Empire's crest. She walked with the confidence of someone who owned entire galaxies. Arya froze. She knew this woman. Everyone did. This was Commander Selene Varos, the one who decided which dragons were useful and which were waste. The commander stepped onto the field, staring directly at Arya. Her voice was cold and cruel. "So this is where the defective creature hid." Arya lowered her head, old fear rising inside her. The commander continued, "You were sold for scrap value. You have no purpose. You cannot breed. You cannot fight. You are nothing." The twins ran in front of Arya, blocking her with their tiny bodies. "She is not nothing," the boy shouted. "She saved Mama's orchard. And she helped us fix the barn," the girl added. Commander Selene looked at the children like they were insects. "Move aside," she ordered. But they didn't move. The farmer stepped forward, shaking but determined. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." The commander raised one eyebrow, amused. A human farmer challenging the Empire? How interesting. She gestured to her soldiers. "Take the dragon, and remove anyone who resists." Arya's fear turned to fire. She pushed the twins gently behind her and stepped between the farmer and the soldiers. Her wings opened wide, shining in the sunlight. She was trembling, but she stood tall. "No more running," she whispered to herself. The soldiers advanced. Energy spears crackled. But then something strange happened. A burst of light exploded around Arya. It spread like a wave, warm and gold. The ground trembled. The soldiers stopped, confused. Even the commander's eyes widened for a moment. Arya looked down at her claws. Her scales were glowing. She did not understand. She had never done anything like this before. The twins gasped. "Papa, she's changing." The commander stepped back, shock breaking through her cold mask. Impossible! Infertile dragons cannot awaken. But Arya was awakening. A forgotten power was rising inside her, a power no test had ever detected, a power the Empire did not even know how to measure. The soldiers raised their weapons again, but Arya released another wave of golden energy. The shock wave blew dust and grass into the air and sent the first line of soldiers stumbling backward. The farmer pulled his twins close, shielding them from the wind. "Arya, were you?" Arya didn't know, but for the first time in her life, she felt alive. She felt strong. She felt complete. The commander shouted, "Capture her now! Use full force." The soldiers charged. The air filled with blue sparks. The ground shook. Arya braced herself, ready to protect the only family she had ever known. The Empire had come for her, but she was not going back. The battlefield was covered in dust and bright sparks. Arya stood in front of the farmer and his twins, her scales glowing with strange golden light. Empire soldiers circled her. their weapons pointed, their armor shining like cold silver. The commander's voice echoed across the farm, sharp and angry. "Capture the dragon. Do not let her escape." But Arya did not plan to escape. Not anymore. She stood tall, her wings stretched wide, her eyes glowing with fire. She felt something new inside her, something powerful and warm, like a heartbeat made of light. The soldiers rushed toward her. Arya moved without thinking. She swung her tail and sent two of them flying back into the dirt. One soldier tried to stab her with a glowing spear, but the weapon melted before it touched her scales. The man dropped what was left of it and fell backwards in shock. What is she?" he whispered. Arya didn't know the answer, but her body did. It moved with strength she never knew she had. Every breath she took felt like fire rising from the center of the earth. Commander Selene watched with cold disbelief. This is impossible. Infertile dragons cannot awaken power. But Arya had awakened. The twins cheered behind her as she pushed back the soldiers. The farmer held them close, his heart racing. He knew Arya was strong, but this was something else entirely. The commander stepped forward. She lifted her arm, and a small device on her wrist glowed red. "Enough," she said. "If my soldiers cannot tame you, I will." A huge metal drone flew out of one of the ships. It was shaped like a spinning sphere with sharp claws. Red lights blinked around its edges as it opened fire. Arya dodged quickly, the blast hitting the ground behind her. The earth cracked. Smoke rose. Arya roared, the sound shaking the fields. The drone shot a long electric chain toward her. It wrapped around her wings and pulled tight. Arya struggled. Pain filled her body as the chain glowed brighter. The commander watched with a cold smile. "Your power means nothing," she said. "You will return to the Empire as a specimen." Arya fell to one knee. The golden glow around her flickered. The soldiers moved closer. "Papa, do something," the little girl cried. The farmer stepped forward, even though his hands were shaking. He grabbed an old metal tool from the ground and threw it at the drone. It hit the drone's side with a loud clang. The drone turned toward him, its red light sharpening. "Target identified," it said in a robotic voice. Arya looked up. She saw the drone charging another blast, this time aimed at the farmer. Something inside her snapped. A wave of fear and anger rushed through her. Anger at the Empire, anger at her past, anger at the label they forced on her. She wasn't useless. She wasn't effective. She wasn't broken. These humans had seen her worth before she even saw it herself. The golden light returned, brighter than ever. The chain around her wings cracked, then shattered. Arya leaped into the air with surprising speed. She flew straight toward the drone. With one strike of her glowing claws, she sliced through it. The drone exploded into sparks and smoke. The commander stepped back, her eyes wide. No, this cannot be happening." The soldiers hesitated. They looked unsure, even afraid. They had never seen a dragon do this. Not even the strongest warrior dragons had such energy. Arya landed on the ground, her wings spread, her chest rising and falling with powerful breaths. The golden glow around her flickered like a living flame. The farm fell silent. Then the commander whispered one word. "Awakened." The soldiers stiffened. They had heard the stories. Legends of dragons who unlocked ancient bloodlines. Dragons whose names became storms, who changed the balance of entire galaxies. Dragons the Empire feared. Arya growled softly, the ground shaking under her claws. Commander Selene lifted her communicator. "All units, retreat. I repeat, retreat." The soldiers ran to their ships. Engines roared. Dust and wind whipped across the fields as the dark ships rose into the sky and vanished into clouds. But the commander did not leave. She stood alone in the field, her black armor scratched, her eyes sharp. She stared at Arya with a mixture of fear and fascination. "I know what you are now," she said quietly, "and soon the entire Empire will know your name." Arya didn't respond. She only watched as the commander stepped backward into her remaining ship. The doors closed, the engines roared, and then the ship disappeared into the sky. The farm was silent again. Broken ground, burned grass, scattered metal pieces. But the danger was gone. The twins ran toward Arya and hugged her legs. "You did it," the boy said. "You scared them away." "We knew you were special," the girl added. Arya slowly folded her wings. The golden glow softened until it disappeared. She lowered her head gently and touched her nose to the children's hair. The farmer approached, his eyes soft but full of worry. "They'll come back," he said, "with more ships, with more soldiers." Arya nodded. She knew he was right. And yet, for the first time in her life, she did not feel afraid. She felt ready. Far above the farm, hidden beyond the clouds, Empire communication towers lit up with urgent messages. Reports were sent to high generals. Orders were rewritten. Warnings were broadcast across the stars. One message repeated more than all others. A dragon has awakened. Her name is Arya, and she is not to be underestimated.